This is crazy. This is definitely one of those things that I think collectors have completely slipped through the cracks. It is perfect spec right now.
It's probably a good read and might end up paying off.
I've been buying this list of books I'm about to read to the community for years. You need to know the covers. You can find them in quarter bins, dollar bins, and they sell for great money. The 10 most trending comic books of the week. Number 10 on the list is the PX exclusive of Red Hulk #1 by Joshua Cassara. An increase of copies sold of 546% week over week. People really like this design. They like that you can see the reflection of Red Hulk in Doctor Doom's mask. And this book keeps taking off. $65 average sales. And this was on the list last week, which means that it's in addition to the craze that happened post Brave New World's debut, which has officially hit $345 million at the box office.
The customers that ordered Red Hulk did not see this available, and shops were available to get it when they put in their final orders for Red Hulk in January. But not a lot of shops did, and that's why I think we're seeing this on the list. It was very limited, only 3,000 available, and Diamond even warned us that there were going to be allocations.
Number 9 on the list is Daredevil 183. Came out in 1982. This is seeing $25 average sales, a recent high sale of $216 for a CGC 9.8, an increase of copies sold of 133%. This is the first time we see Frank Castle go up against Matt Murdock. Daredevil versus the Punisher, a classic versus cover. And we're not going to get into Daredevil Born Again spoilers on this show. We're only going to talk about the 2 episodes in reference to what we already know going into them based off of trailers, etc.
It's been 7 long years since the last Daredevil show, and we've been watching these trailers, and I was excited to see Frank Castle in there. So this is no surprise being on the list. This 2-issue series, this little arc, 183, 184 Daredevil, is a great crossover with Daredevil and Punisher. We saw Frank Castle a long time ago. We've seen him in the trailer. We also know that Frank Castle is going to be having a Disney Plus special coming up. So this is just a good, solid bet. There are more good, solid bets for Daredevil that you should be looking into as well.
I look at books like this. I mean, seeing around $200 makes sense to me, regardless of what's going on with John Bernthal Punisher. It's a book for a PC. It's a badass comic book. But there are some others that are creeping up because I think people are re-looking at them because they're excited about Daredevil again and the prices are reasonable. On the trending 20, we have Daredevil #7. This is the first time Daredevil dons the red costume. We've already seen Matt Murdock in the red devil suit from the Netflix days. So him being in Daredevil Born Again in more of a classic suit is no surprise. But seeing it on screen now, all those years later, it's so different. It's refreshing. And we're getting a Daredevil that we've wanted to see, like pulled from the comic books.
Another one that people seem to overlook is Daredevil #170. It's the first time we end up seeing Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, hanging out in the Daredevil universe. And that is a major, major turning point in this show.
Which is also on the Key Collector Trending 20, which is the larger list we source these 10 comic books from. I use Key Collector every single day. I keep up with the news of what's going on, what books are moving and shaking. You can utilize code TOM101 to unlock a free 2-week subscription of the app, support the show, but most of the app is completely free. You can keep track of your current comic collection. You can make wish lists for comics that you want to go for, and you can get suggested price guidance all along the way.
Number 8 on the list, Impact Winter #1, an Image comic from 2022. We are seeing $5 average sales, and there's only one CGC 9.8, so we don't have a high to report on. We got news that at the end of February, Netflix got the rights to be able to turn this into a series adaptation, and they have tapped the director from Hunger Games and the writer from Pacific Rim to work on this.
This is crazy. This is definitely one of those things that I think collectors have completely slipped through the cracks. It is perfect spec right now. $5 entry point is so cheap. Do not buy it at 9.8. If you have it, get it graded, list it soon, because this book crosses into the mainstream. This is a audiobook exclusive that's been on my list to listen to for quite some time. I've heard it recommended countless times. When I saw this on the list, I didn't even realize that they made a comic of it. And had I known, just out of sheer interest, I probably would have spec'd on it because of how many people have told me to listen to this book.
It's a 967% increase in copies sold this week. And yes, there is a lot of interest. And this is one of the reasons why if you go to the shop and just pick up any Image #1s, it's just kind of a long-term no-brainer. It's probably a good read and might end up paying off.
There's 3 books to this audio series. The comments on YouTube, because you actually can listen to the entire first book. It's like 5 hours of content for free. The comments are just littered with everyone praising it. People who don't listen to audiobooks found a love for audiobooks through this vampire dystopian narrative, which I have yet to listen to, but I'm going to after this show for sure.
And if that wasn't enough, the executive producer is the same one from Walking Dead. Plus, we have 3 Game of Thrones actors, including Ellie from Last of Us, in this audio drama. You don't want to miss it. But on the comic book side, this is an anomaly. It's a one-shot with only 1 cover.
Image made another one-shot a year later, Impact Winter Rook, but then the 2024 comic was canceled, the graphic novel was canceled. Seldomly do you have just so few options if you're looking to buy a collectible, if you're a fan of a series that debuted audio only, no physical media. Which brings us to number 7 on the list with Invincible number 60, the greatest Image crossover event that's ever happened.
This was such a fun book when it came out, and the print run is surprisingly low. Just shy of 16,000 copies were out there. It's a quadruple gatefold. It folds all the way out, and so many special people showing up from Image Comics. I just love the fact that you've got Witchblade with Savage Dragon, with Spawn, with, I don't know, Tech Jacket. You've got all of these weird characters that you wouldn't expect to be all together. And at this point in time, with the Invincible series happening, it's not a question of if this will happen with the crossovers, it's when.
Could you imagine if we see Spawn in Invincible? It would go crazy. It makes sense this book is going for $40 high average sales, $250 for a CGC 9.8. If this event happened now, this 15,000 print run would not have happened. It would be in the 6 figures.
And a lot of times the demand is driven by the art on the cover. So this second print one with just the Invincible team wouldn't necessarily be the desirable one. But because there are so few copies printed, the demand is massive. We had a recent 9/6 sale for $500, and just last month, someone paid $2,500 for a CGC 9.8 of the Ryan Ottley second print.
Number 6 on the list is the first appearance of Hector Ayala, the White Tiger in Spectacular Spider-Man issue number 9. An increase of copies sold of 333% after the debut of Daredevil Born Again. We knew based off trailers we're going to be getting this straight-level vigilante, but will he don the amulet? Will he go full White Tiger? Will he survive the series? Well, watch Daredevil Born Again. It's a masterpiece.
We're seeing $45 average sales and $207 for CGC 9.8. White Tiger is the first Marvel superhero character of Latin descent, and he was created by Bill Mantlo and George Perez.
What an important moment and character to have in live action. It's a shame that George Perez didn't get a chance to see his creation on the screen. And just as tragic, it's a shame that Kumar de los Reyes isn't still here with us. He passed away at the end of 2023, tragically. So his final role is absolutely brilliant. I will say that. I'm excited to talk about White Tiger again after everyone's seen Daredevil Born Again. Half my family lives in Puerto Rico, and there's a lot of really cool shout outs, but no spoilers.
Speaking of no spoilers, number 5 on the list, Daredevil number 11. This is a book we have talked about multiple times. It is the first appearance of Muse. $50 average sales, $318 for a CGC 9.8. We know we saw Muse in the trailer. We may or may not have seen him in the first 2 episodes of Daredevil, but stay tuned. I have a very strong feeling that we will see this book again on the list. It's a 142% increase in copies sold, which is not a whole lot. We may see more of it as the show develops.
Number 4 on the list is Tech Jacket number 1, created by Robert Kirkman around the same time he created Invincible, seeing $100 average sales, $175 for a CGC 9.8. This is listed on Key Collector as the first time we ever saw a glimpse of Invincible in a standard-sized comic book. It contains a 5-page preview debuting the character in 2003.
It's a 650% increase in copies sold this week on the anticipation that Tech Jacket will be showing up in Season 3 of Invincible. I've always found it a little bit interesting, though, because there were so many Invincible previews in the comic books that this is the one that people seem to be focusing on.
I've been buying this list of books I'm about to read to the community for years. You need to know the covers. You can find them in quarter bins, dollar bins, and they sell for great money. The first is G.I. Joe Real American Hero number 12. Just know the cover. Good luck. Here's another one. Noble Causes Family Secrets issue number 3. And there's 2 different versions of this book. And one is an X-Men 141 homage. Masters of the Universe, issue number 1. And of course, my favorite, Savage Dragon 102.
So people will pick up Invincible 102 because, again, it's one of those lower print run books, but no one is going out of their way to pick up Noble Cause's Family Secrets number 3.
Stick with us to the very end of the video. I have a Mark Spears Monsters that is signed that I'll tell you how you can win. And if you want to guarantee some Mark Spears this month, join the mystery mail call, comictom.com. We have a Thundercats Lion-O Mark Spears Virgin variant limited to 900. That's guaranteed 1 per box. It's the way you can support the show directly. We pack each box with 4 to 5 comic books, a guaranteed exclusive, that Lion-O cover, for example, and you support the show.
This is one of the biggest part of our jobs, and I really believe that the only person that cares more about leaks is a plumber.
Leaks. Let's talk about them. Number 3 on the list, the first appearance of Dupe. This right here is X-Force 116. It's the ecstatic first appearance comic book. And you may not know these characters. You should. It's like The Boys before The Boys. Mike Allred brilliance. But you may know one of the characters specifically because he showed up in Deadpool 2, portrayed by Pennywise. And that character is named Zeitgeist, the guy who throws up acid, who dies in Deadpool 2. It's also the first appearance of Dupe, who is seemingly appearing in a unofficial leak that also showcases a lot of other characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
We're seeing a $30 average sales on $150 for CGC 9.8. This Mike Allred run of X-Force is fantastic. He introduces this team, the Ecstatics, and Dupe has become a fan favorite. But really, the validity of this leak, I don't know, man. I don't think it holds water. There's not a lot to go on here.
The way we handle leaks here, as it pertains to people spending money based off of things that hit the internet, is just proceed with caution. You know, it's a very risky bet. You're basically putting money on red, essentially. And I understand if that's what you want to do. You do what you want to do. It's fun to gamble on characters. Dupe is one of the weirdest characters in the Marvel universe. Probably more likely that we'll see him or it, whatever it is, we don't know, in Marvel Rivals before we see them on the screen. And also, considering that this is concept art, there's already images of kind of like a more prelim of what looks like it was just taken from that doesn't show Dupe. It looks like Dupe was actually added into the concept art to cause a stir. So not only is there no validity, it already looks like there is no weight to this ever having been the case in the first place.
It's weird to have the Sorcerer Supreme and Star-Lord and all of the Young Avengers, and then, by the way, one of the Ecstatics is hanging out in the background, but the comic book community is really paying attention. It's an 875% increase in copies sold this week. I don't know, is this going to be something long-term? It's not a huge buy-in, and it is a good book to have.
It's a bias, but I personally really like this book. It's been going for like $100 for a 9.8. Now it's hitting 150 because of leaks. And if it was always a $150 book, I wouldn't poo-poo that price.
Number 2 on the list, super excited about this one. Daredevil number 131, the first appearance of Bullseye. $250 average sales and $720 for a recent CGC 9.6. It's a 260% increase in copies sold, again, because of the Daredevil Born Again show.
Debuting this week, and we will not get into it, but there was a teaser, like a little over a minute released of a scene in Daredevil last week, which has been spiking books. I think that's fair game. We see Daredevil going up against Bullseye. It's epic. I don't want to get into all the things that I like about it because you need to go watch that show because we're going to be talking about Daredevil and probably a lot of other street level heroes over the next few months. I will say that Netflix, having gone through all those shows recently, I'm excited to see how they handle these characters going forward because of that big time lapse. We essentially got like the year one narratives of the Defenders back then. By the end of all the different seasons, Daredevil season 3, Punisher season 2, Luke Cage season 2, Jessica Jones season 3, Iron Fist season 2, by the end of all of this era, they have become the characters that we know them from the comic books to be. And I will say, if you just watch the teaser of Daredevil Born Again, you know that we are getting not just Bullseye coming back. No, we're getting like Bullseye from the comics coming back, a madman, a psychopath, a very dangerous villain. And Of course, you got Matt Murdock coming back, but more like Daredevil we actually know him to be from the books.
This is the reason I really liked Avengers Endgame, because we started it out, there was no exposition, we didn't have to build any character, it was just hitting the ground running. Everything in this new show, every character's already pretty much established, you know what their goals are, and it makes it so much more enjoyable.
Which now brings us to the #1 most trending book in the world. Have you hit the subscribe button yet? Damn it, comic fam! Hit the button so you can join us every single week. And while we chat about #1 on the list, I want you to consider this. I do not think you should buy this book because of the reason it's spiking now. However, if you want to spec on the book, do it for the reasons people have been buying it for over a year. #1 on the list, Secret Wars #2, the first appearance of God, Emperor, Doom.
$18 average sales, $90 for CGC 9.8, an astounding 1,233% increase in copies sold this week.
All these purchases are happening because of unofficial concept art featuring God, Emperor, Doom. Just kidding, God, Emperor, Doom, but it's the same situation that's happening with X-Force and Doom's first appearance. There is no validity to this. You shouldn't buy this book just based on that concept art that's unofficial alone.
This is an interesting book, but keep in mind that we're still building more of the next phase of the MCU. And Robert Downey Jr. even came out himself and said, I've been reading more about Doom's origin, not God Emperor Doom's origin. And that's why I think there's another book over on the trending list that people should be paying more attention to, The Books of Doom. It's a 6-issue miniseries that actually features more of Victor Von Doom's backstory. That's one that I think people should be paying attention to, especially before the Fantastic Four movie comes out.
We haven't talked about Secret Wars 2 since the comic was featured in trailer for Deadpool 3. So there's reason to back this book, okay? And then we got the announcement of Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom. Even more reason to spec on Doom. And then people started buying Invincible Iron Man #1 because they were already thinking long term, well, he'll probably like revert back to Invincible Iron Man, right? Like eventually one day. So then what happens in between? We have incursions happening, right? So we have Hickman stuff going on. Secret Wars is slated, so God, Emperor, Doom makes sense. But the concept art alone does not make it any more likely. What do you think about this in the comment section below? And of course,
Geek responsibly.
enough said. Yo, thanks so much for watching the video. I want to give away a Red Hulk pack, the Whatnot Marvel team up. It took over the internet by storm. If your phone number ends in 3814, check your SMS. And if you want to join our weekly giveaways, go to comictom.com, join our SMS group. It's where we source all of our giveaways. This week, yo, shout out Mark Spears for sending this to me to be given away to you guys. Mark Spears Monsters, issue #2. Take a look at this cover.
This creature from the Black Lagoon is amazing, and just this sexy girl in peril, awesome cover.
Join the giveaway and have a great week.